All right, guys, so when we're talking about the opportunity to have a whole bunch of different conditions that we want to look at, we no longer try and use an if-then statement. We could try and use a whole bunch of different if-then statements, but a much cleaner way of doing our code is to actually use something what's known as a select case. Again, we're going to need to have some sort of variable that we want to take a look at, so I'm going to try and use namestring again. So namestring equals an input. What is your name? And now I'm going to tell it to take a look at that using the select command and saying select namestring. Now a select case is going to be by default a block of code, so when I press enter I'm going to always tab over and I'm going to declare what my several different cases that I'm looking at, what they could potentially be. So a case is just simply going to be one of the things that namestring could equal. Now, when we are comparing strings, like with our if-thens, we need to make sure that we are using stuff that is case sensitive. So before I take a look at namestring, it's always a good idea to say namestring equals the lower of namestring. After I've done that, I can take a look at these different cases, and I always want to put them in quotations if I'm looking at strings so that the computer knows that I'm looking at an actual string variable. So we'll take a look at Mr. Keller, and we want to print you teach programming. Okay, we'll take a look at Donald Trump. Print you are running for president. Case Hillary Clinton. Print you are running for president. Case Michael Jordan. Print you are the greatest basketball player. And let's just pick something else. Michael Scott. Print you run under Mifflin, Scranton. Okay. Now that I've created a block of code, I need to make sure that I am telling this that, hey, I'm done with this block of code. So just like with my if-thens, I need to end those. And so I'm going to end this with an end select. Okay. When I run this now, I can type in Michael Scott. And it'll tell me you run Dunder Mifflin, Scranton. Okay. Likewise, if I run it again, type in Michael Jordan. You're the greatest basketball player ever. So I could very easily go through and create if-thens, but when we're looking at trying to do 5 different if-thens, a select case tends to be a much more efficient means of creating said code. Okay. Now, because I have certain conditions that can be met, but I don't have any sort of thing to check in, like say if I was to put in Dwight Schrute, I'd have absolutely nothing happening. This would make this particular version of a select case an example of a basic decision-making structure. In order to make this be an advanced decision-making structure, like when we were using an if-then-else, I need to include what is known as a default. Okay, the default case right now is going to be what we're going to do in the event that none of our cases match up. So if none of these cases match up, we're going to print, you are watching a video on programming. Okay, when we run this now, Mr. Schrute decides to sit down and watch the video. We can see that he is watching a video on programming. So that would be an example of turning a select case into an advanced decision-making structure by using the default command.